Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to be giving you guys an updated draft predictions. Yeah, I wasn't too happy with my previous one, and I was kind of all over the place with the previous one, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted. But now I have written down at least somewhat of a decent list, and at least I can actually explain better my picks why. So, we're going to be starting things off here with the champions. We're going to be talking about the champions. Now, one of the interesting things I found weird was Cody Rhodes. On Raw, he cut a promo and he said that, and I quote, "I know I'm not supposed to be here because I'm a SmackDown superstar." Which, to me, that line made absolutely no sense. I don't know why Cody claims he's now a SmackDown wrestler. He's always been a Raw wrestler the entire time. But now, all of a sudden, him winning the undisputed WWE Championship just randomly makes him a SmackDown wrestler? I mean, here's the thing. If they explained that him beating Roman Reigns and him winning the undisputed title would have made him a SmackDown superstar, then I can probably understand why, but they just never mentioned it. They just had Cody say he's now a SmackDown superstar, which I thought was really, really weird for them to just have him just straight up say and confuse their entire audience, because the thing is, he was on Raw the entire time. He's been on Raw the entire time. So when it comes to this list, I have put Cody Rhodes down on SmackDown as the SmackDown WWE Champion. So I could see them having Damian Priest also go to SmackDown. I could see that, I could see them doing a whole bunch of mixing. But I don't really think they're going to mix that very much. I don't think they're going to mix a lot of people that very much. So we'll see what they do there. So I put Cody in as SmackDown's World Champion. I also put Sami Zayn down as the Intercontinental Champion, bringing that title to SmackDown. Because if I'm being completely honest, I really think that title is more I think Sami Zayn is more associated to SmackDown than he is on Monday Night Raw. If you know what I mean. Okay, I was just making sure that I didn't make any mistakes. So it's very difficult to really say, but yeah, Sami Zayn, I think he's more noticeable on SmackDown than he is on Raw, in my opinion, so I think having him on SmackDown is just better suited. A-Town Down Under will stay on SmackDown as the Tag Team Champions. I just think swapping the Tag Team titles around just would not make any sense at all. Like, you introduce these new belts, but now you're going to swap the champions. But so that's just what I personally think. And I also put Bayley on SmackDown because, again, with Bayley, she's more associated with SmackDown, and I think her being the SmackDown champion could lead to bigger matches. So now we've got the Raw champions, which are Damian Priest, the World Heavyweight Champion, and that would mean the rest of the entire Judgment Day will also stay on Raw, including Rhea Ripley. Logan Paul as the United States Champion. I think Logan Paul will bring the United States title over to SmackDown. And we've also got Miz and Truth, the World Tag Team Champions, staying on Raw. And then we have the vacated Women's World title, which I believe the champion will either be Liv Morgan or Becky Lynch. But I'm definitely more leaning towards Liv Morgan becoming the champion. So on the Monday Night Raw side, we've got the entire Bloodline moving to Monday Night Raw, and this whole Bloodline story, to me, would work better on a 3-hour show than a 2-hour show like SmackDown. You can dedicate tons and tons and tons of segments to the Bloodline stuff, which people talk about Monday Night Raw being the storytelling show, because, the show's for 3 hours. The Bloodline Civil War would be an entire storyline in itself So I think the bloodline going on Raw makes a lot of sense here. I think putting all of that on Monday Night Raw just makes a load of sense. And that also means that Jey Uso will be staying on Raw as well. Yeah, it's a bummer. I don't really want to see the Usos reunite, but it feels like that's the direction they're gonna go. So Jey, as much as I would love to move Jey to SmackDown, I see Jey, Jimmy, Roman, and all the members of the Bloodline all being on one show going forward. I would also move Pretty Deadly, yes boy, to Monday Night Raw, because I feel like they kind of need a bit of a change, and I think moving them to Raw would be a decent little change for Pretty Shitty, as I like to call them. And I don't know why, I just think them going over to Raw would just be better for them, because, you know, Raw kind of needs more tag teams, especially some other fresh tag teams. Especially some refreshing tag teams. I also would move LA Knight, yeah, to Monday Night Raw, because, I was against the idea of LA Knight going to Raw originally. I was kind of against the whole idea. But I think him being on a 3-hour program might be good for him. But, you know, again, this is just all my opinion. I think him being on SmackDown, like on Raw, would be better. And also, if he's ever going to get a run as a world champion, I can kind of see him more winning the World Heavyweight title than winning the WWE Championship. If I'm being completely honest, I think if he was to get a run as a world champion, I think the World Heavyweight Championship would be better suited for someone like him instead of being the WWE Champion. Not saying he can't be WWE Champion, I'm just saying I can see the World Heavyweight title being just a better fit for him, in my opinion. Another one I would move to Raw is Sheamus. Now, obviously, here's a few reasons here. I know there's a few red herrings here, because I know a lot of people want to see Sheamus win the Intercontinental title, which, if Sami Zayn is going to SmackDown, then I say you can leave Sheamus on SmackDown for that reason. But I think the main reason why I want Sheamus on Raw here is not to win a mid-card title, it's to be the World Heavyweight Champion. I think Sheamus deserves a main event run as World Heavyweight Champion. I think he does deserve at least another world title reign before he eventually calls it a career. Sheamus mentioned that he felt he was going to be forced to retire when he got injured again. He was worried, because I remember seeing an article on social media somewhere that he said that he was probably going to be forced into retirement because he couldn't recover from his injury. But he was able to, which is good, because losing Sheamus would not be good at all. So I think Sheamus should get a world title run with the World Heavyweight Championship, and then maybe next year down the road you can move Sheamus to SmackDown, or vice versa, whoever's the IC champ, and you can have Sheamus get a run with the IC title, and then he can ride off into the sunset afterwards. But I don't know, man. John Cena never won the Intercontinental title, so maybe Sheamus is never going to win it either. Next, we got Legado del Fantasma. I would move them to Monday Night Raw. That would be Santos Escobar, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, and Elektra Lopez. I was originally thinking LWO, but I decided against it because I don't want Ray and Dominic on the same show. Because having Ray and Dom on the same show would just get the whole father and son nonsense again. I don't really want to see that whole... I don't really want to see that. So, yeah, I just decided against it. Yeah, maybe moving Judgment Day to SmackDown and then the LWO go over to Raw would be the better solution, yes. But, I don't know. I just think Judgment Day is just better suited on Raw, and I just can't really see them really changing much. So, Legado, again, they're kind of in the same boat as LWO. Like, they've just always been on SmackDown, and I think moving them to Raw could be a nice change. And because you've got the World Tag Team titles, you know, you've got the face champions, it'd be much easier for, you know, Legado to challenge Miz and R-Truth. So now we're going to get the women's side. Now on the women's end here, the women's end here is interesting because you can really go in any way, but I decided on a few names. I decided on a few names that can go over to Raw on the women's side. One is Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. And this was, again, I had them on my previous list, and I think they should definitely move them to Monday Night Raw. But considering that WWE don't use them, I've got this weird feeling, if I'm gonna be in the perspective here of what I could see WWE doing in real life, I've got this weird feeling they'll split them in real life, because my prediction is that I want them to stay together, but considering that they're doing nothing with them as a team, they might just split them. They might just split them, which I don't think would be necessary, but if they were to split them, if you were to ask me where would I put them if they were to be split, I'd say Alba Fire on Raw and Isla Dawn on SmackDown, or vice versa. But I don't really want them to be split, but it's just a scenario that I could see them doing for real, which I don't really want them to. But, I mean, if it gets them on TV, then I guess maybe that could be their saving grace. But I really think them being on Raw would be better, because it's a 3-hour show, and at least on a 3-hour show, they may at least get a chance to be on the show. Next is Charlotte Flair. Now, in my personal opinion, people that are injured should not be drafted, but I think Charlotte might most likely return to Monday Night Raw because Andrade is on Raw, unless they draft him to SmackDown. Unless they draft Andrade to SmackDown, then she'll definitely stay on SmackDown. But I think what I've said this before, like for people like Andrade, Bron Breakker, maybe even Tiffy, and just Jade Cargill. Like, if you just acquired these people on a certain show, I think just switching them to another show would just be very silly. I think it'd be quite silly to just move them to another show because, again, it would just be really silly to just move them, because why did they even bother selecting them for their certain brand, only for them to go to a different one? So that's why I think Charlotte will be on Raw. Another one I put down is Io Sky to Monday Night Raw, and just Io Sky. Now, I know some people may think, why would I break up Damage Control here? I think Io would be better off on her own, if I'm being completely honest. I think she'd be better off on her own. Like, we could make an argument and say the Kabuki Warriors can also join her. You could also make an argument and say, just do Io and the Kabuki Warriors and then leave Dakota on SmackDown, which you can make that argument as well. We can make that argument, but I believe Jade Cargill and Bianca are going to win the tag team titles from Asuka and Kairi. So that kind of leaves that open as well. So I don't know. I just think maybe having Io on her own would just be better. Like, have her as the top heel, or maybe turn her face, and maybe have her challenge Liv Morgan down the road or something along those lines. Next is Naomi to Monday Night Raw. Now, yes, I know putting her on Raw isn't exactly the thrilling of things to do, but again, you guys saw at the start, I said the Bloodline are going to go to Monday Night Raw, so wherever Jimmy Uso goes, Naomi goes there too. Now, yes, technically, Tiffany Stratton's in a relationship with Ludwig Kaiser, and she's on SmackDown while he's on Raw. Yes, they technically can have them separated on different brands, but we all know, I can't remember what year it was, it might have been 2019, I can't remember what year it was, but I remember one year they did a superstar shakeup, and then they split up a lot of partners, a lot of real life couples, and the real life couples got offended and they all got upset about it, and then they had to fix it by putting them back together. Can't remember what year it was, either it was 2018 or 2019, I can't remember what year it was, but yeah, it was a real mess. So keeping relationships together is the better case scenario here. As much as I don't like Naomi being on Raw, and I think she's better suited for SmackDown, but because I put Jimmy Uso on Raw with the Bloodline, she's going to have to go there as well. Next is Tiffy time, Tiffany Stratton, because obviously I didn't put Imperium down to switch. I didn't put Imperium down to switch to SmackDown. So Tiffy will go to Monday Night Raw, and I think her being on Raw would be a nice little addition. See, look at that. The new women I put on Raw just made Raw's women's division slightly better. And the final person is NXT. I put Ilya Dragunov on Monday Night Raw. Now, we don't know the rest of the NXT people that are going over, so we only know Ilya Dragunov and Roxanne Perez, so we only know they are going to the main roster via the draft, so that's why I only put them down. So that was Monday Night Raw. So that was the Monday Night Raw lineup that I did for the WWE draft. Next, we've got SmackDown, which, as you know, I put Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, A-Town, Down Under, and Bayley. So now we got the rest. And now we're going to be talking about the rest of the people I put on SmackDown. And let's see if you guys agree or disagree with who I put on SmackDown. I put Chad Gable on SmackDown. I would move Chad Gable to SmackDown to keep his whole rivalry with Sami Zayn going. I'd have Sami and Chad continue their feud on SmackDown. And I would also put the Creed brothers on SmackDown, because there's a rumor going around saying that the Creeds are going to align themselves with Chad Gable, like creating a new team Angle. Like, remember when Kurt Angle had Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas with him? I think they're trying to make the Creed brothers the new Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas in this case, if that's the way they're gonna handle it. So I could see them doing Team Gable, naming it Team Gable or something. So, yeah, if that's true, then, you know, you have the Creed brothers on the same show as Chad. Next, I put DIY on SmackDown, because I think DIY versus A-Town Down Under sounds good, because I'd kind of like to see Grayson Waller get his revenge on Johnny Gargano. But other than that, I think DIY would be a nice little switch for SmackDown. Also, I put on SmackDown the Tsunami! Big Bronson Reed on SmackDown, and I kind of want him on SmackDown just so I can hear Wade Barrett say Tsunami, because it's great. But I also think maybe SmackDown would be better suited for someone like him. And also, I'd kind of like to see Bronson Reed kind of dethrone Sami Zayn, even though I think it will most likely be Chad Gable, because why turn him heel if you're not going to have him win? But I would also like to see Bronson Reed also possibly challenge Cody Rhodes for the WWE title, because I think that'd be fun. Now when it comes to the SmackDown side, on the women's end, we'll have Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. I'll move them both to SmackDown, because obviously, again, Candice is associated with Johnny Gargano. You don't want to split them up. And also because Indy Hartwell is in a tag team with Candice, sticking them together. And because they're now a heel tag team, because they're now both heels, you know, they're going to stay together. I would also move Katana Chance and Kaden Carter to SmackDown, just because I think, you know, they could use a nice little change of scenery. And if Bianca and Jade Cargill are the tag team champions, you could have these two particular teams challenge them for the belts. I would also move Nia Jax to SmackDown, mainly because, again, as I said previously in the past, that Nia Jax has never been on SmackDown. I'm not counting the times that she battled Sasha Banks in 2021 during the pandemic. I'm not counting those times she appeared on SmackDown during the pandemic when she was tag team champion with Shayna Baszler, because she was still a Raw superstar during that period. So Nia's never, ever been on SmackDown, and I think moving her to SmackDown could be nice. Having Nia be a threat to Bayley's title, you know, having Nia become one of the big threats to Bayley's title would be pretty interesting. I would also put Zoe Stark on SmackDown. I know, really random choice, but I kind of don't really like her team with Shayna Baszler, if I'm being completely honest. It's a really random-ass team. So, I kind of moved Zoe Stark to SmackDown, because I think, like, I may not like Zoe, but she is a decent wrestler. She is a decent wrestler, and she's got a cool finishing move. That's really all I really like about Zoe. She's got a cool finisher, her theme's okay, and I think she's somewhat of a decent wrestler. That's really it. But other than that, not really the biggest fan of her. But I think her moving to SmackDown could be a nice little change for her, and it would also kind of get her away from Shayna Baszler. And then finally for NXT, I would put Roxanne Perez on SmackDown, because I think Roxanne could be a nice little challenger for Bayley. You know, a nice little rookie underdog heel that thinks she's, like, I could see Roxanne just being one of those people thinking, I won everything on NXT so quickly, I'm just going to come to the main roster and I'm going to do the same thing here on SmackDown. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to win the women's title my rookie year. Like, I could see that. I could see that being something that they could do with Roxanne. And hopefully they keep her as a heel, because I really want to see Roxanne actually do the heel character that she's got on NXT on SmackDown, because because I don't like that they just made Bron Breakker a face. Like, he was a heel on NXT, and then Bron Breakker gets brought up, and then now he's a face on SmackDown. I kind of hope they keep Roxanne as a heel going forward, especially on the SmackDown brand. So there you have it. That is my new draft lineup, and it might have been a bit smaller than the one I did before. Yeah, there might be way more options. There might be way more options and more things that I could have missed out on, potential changes I could have missed out on. And as I said, I'm not going to include more NXT people because I don't know who else from NXT is going to be drafted. But other than that, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down below. And who do you want to see change to different shows from Raw to SmackDown? And one final thing. If you guys want to see who I'm putting on NXT, be sure to check out the video that I'm going to be... Check out my video about my draft selections for NXT. Because instead of me talking about NXT again, I didn't really change that one. Go watch my video about NXT if you want to see who I'm going to send to NXT. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all on the other side.